And we are live. So here we are, me, the American Werewolf, and I'm back with my returning guest, Brom Bones, back from last week's episode with Sleepy Hollow. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I was so, and still am, so excited. This will be tonight the first ever double feature that I'm pulling. I'm doing double duty. I've got now my show with Brom here. And then at 8, I'm coming back with Scary Story at 10 p.m. I'm coming back with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And so this is kind of cool. But for now, I'm extremely excited to be covering this movie because it was my number 7, I believe, in my top 10 favorite all-time horror movies. We're talking about 2007's found footage movie Wreck. And Brom, if you're ready, we can get it going. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Boogie woogie. So you're going to have to tell me if this is your new handle permanently, and I'll know how to introduce you instead of.
I don't know.
As my students say, don't use my government name.
My government name. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just kind of lazy. I just
yeah. No, it's all
also,
good.
by the way, I really love those. Yeah. No, I really love the minimalist movie posters that you have on the intros. Like those alternate movie posters are really cool. Like I don't, I mean, I like that kind of minimalist art, and it's really cool. And I like the font you chose too. That kind of like Halloween-y, Sleepy Hollow looking font.
Yeah,
cool.
The operating system gave me an upgrade, so when I opened up the editing software, there were more options. And so I went through real quick and saw what they looked like, and there we are. I thought it was kind of cool too. It's always nice to have some change.
Yeah.
So in reference to the minimalist art and the alternate posters, you would never guess from looking at that poster what a fucking bloodbath this movie is. For me, I started, I think, maybe my second or third episode. We're now at episode 62, talking about Blair Witch. And we did it with Bill back in the day. And we were talking about how the 90s were such a subversive time for filmmaking. You and I covered Ravenous. All these small independent movies. They were moving away from the blockbuster type films. Spike Lee, Spike Jones, so many, you're meeting Kevin Smith for the first time. All these great filmmakers are out there. And it was also our introduction when we talk about Blair Witch to the genre of found footage, which was just this, especially the way it was done with that movie, just this incredibly improvised sort of script where when what would happen is essentially the director would meet the people out in the woods in the beginning of the morning and pass them individual notes that the other actors couldn't see. So it would describe what the motivation was going to be for that actor for the day. So, for example, they would take the Heather character and say, I want you to get them. Are you okay?
Yeah. Just heard something weird. Sorry.
Okay. It's just me talking. That's weird.
No.
But they would say, I want you to get them really lost today.
Okay.
I think the improvisation of kicking the map into the river, telling them that was all just improvised. So these improvised performances, it's one of the greatest improv performances of all time. This was another movie where the script was heavily improvised there on the spot. that they actually brought in an actual TV announcer to be the main star. The Angela character is actually, yeah.
She really is? Oh.
She really is. Her name is, oh God, what's her name? Manuela Velasco.
Okay.
And she is an actual television announcer. And so they brought in an actual television announcer to play a television announcer, within this movie.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is my first ever foreign found footage movie that we're covering. And I just love this flick. I don't remember how I was introduced to it, but I saw it and I'm like, holy shit. Go ahead. I'm fucking rambling.
Well, no, I was going to say, I mean, as far as Blair Witch goes, I think, it's a shame that everybody found out that was fake so fast. If it had not been leaked until months later, or something like that, where people are like, whoa, wait a minute, what? That was fake? I mean, if they had not let the ball drop early, they would have had an absolute
Well, they did. I mean, that was a huge blockbuster. It was made for $1 million, and I think it made $60 or $100 million or something.
And it's a shame too, though. I read something about the curse of that movie, no pun intended, as far as the actors went.
Yeah, they never really got into anything else ever again.
The girl Heather,
she runs a pot farm.
The girl Heather married a pot farmer.
Yeah,
well, and then
that's big. That's the one not guy. It seems, man. That's actually big money nowadays.
Yeah. But
if you got in on the ground with that, shit.
I think the one guy who looked slightly the Fred Durst looking guy who was in the corner at the end. Yeah.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah, Mike. I think he's moving furniture, and the other guy, Josh, I think he did have some small acting roles, and it's a shame though their careers didn't take off.
It is one of the great improv performances maybe of all time. When you really understand, and when we did the movie, we covered we did a little research with some documentaries, and just exactly how much of that was just improvised on the spot. And my opinion of it is solidified by the fact that when I did watch it, I hadn't had the spoiler happen for me. And everybody in the theater hadn't had the spoiler happen.
Yeah, that's
it happened about an hour after I walked out. Some dumbass in a pizza, it's fake, don't you? Stupid fuck, So, but I mean, within that 90-minute period, you could have heard a pin drop in that movie.
Now, go
ahead.
No, I was going to say with you said Blair Witch did introduce the found footage genre. Now, but then on the flip side of that, it introduced we got an absolute glut of found footage movies, a lot of which were subpar.
I love every one of them, and I'll get into why in a minute. Hold on a second. I don't want to cut you off, but we got some comments here. Eric is in the house. And Eric will be joining us again at 10 p.m. He hasn't seen any of the Rex. I have the first 3, and I've only seen the American remake called Quarantine. Yeah, you gotta get the Spanish version. Really good, but I've heard it doesn't hold a candle to Rex. I don't think it does. There's a Quarantine 2 where it happens on a plane, which has nothing to do with Rec 2.
Gosh.
Hold on. They shouldn't have had the cast of Blair Witch do the late night TV show route. Keep that secret as long as possible.
And
he says Josh occasionally pops up in random horror films. I last saw him in the first. He saw him in the Hatchet movie. Okay,
gosh, that
Robert Englund. Okay, no, that just came up in conversation. And Eric, remind me to tell you where. Recently, but go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
I was going to say this. This glut of found footage films, and I think it was at the point. I think it's gotten to the point where it's just again, it's something that seems like it's becoming cliche. Now with this film, it was, it was in the midst of all that. We had the Cloverfields, we had Paranormal Activity, we had all this other stuff, But this one, and I refuse, after this, watching this movie, I refuse to see Quarantine.
You should.
This was good. And
Yeah.
it was different for a found footage. Granted, my knowledge of found footage movies, admittedly, is only this and Blair Witch. But I haven't seen that many. But I think
go ahead.
It just seems like it's if you can keep the concept fresh, as with anything, it's fine. Otherwise, it gets old hat quick.
Here's the thing about found footage in general. They're subversive in the sense that you don't need a huge budget. You don't need A-list stars.
No, you don't.
You don't need any of that to make a quality movie. And so many times, and that was the point of the 90s, I think, in general, where found footage sort of got its footing with Blair Witch, and continues to this day. I love found footage movies because I think that they're kind of sparse. The actors, I think, usually 9 out of 10 times are acting their asses off. I love the limited range of the camera. It never shoots wide, so like you only really see what is passing in front of the camera. And for me, and what I've seen with the found footage that I've seen, that makes for some terrifying shit.
And I like that this movie had obviously no actors that I knew of. They were all people I'd never heard of, so it made it more authentic in that case.
Nobody stands out.
And the way it was filmed, I also liked that it was filmed like it was like the local news, like we were watching TV 40 or something.
It was called While You're Asleep. That was the name of the program.
And I liked that it started out very kind of just normal, kind of mundane. Okay, she's following these guys on their nightly routine at the firehouse, that was really cool. And I wish that captain had more screen time. I like that guy with the mustache. But it was that's what I liked, it threw you off, and then
go ahead.
No, and it has you wondering, like, okay, well, this is a horror movie. When does all that stuff start? So even though you're getting, it's tricking you into thinking this is just some mundane thing, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, like, okay, when is all this stuff going to start?
When does it kick off?
And as soon as they got the call that they're about the building, I was like, okay, that's it.
Here's the premise of this story. I mean, for people that are not familiar with it, and I want to say real quick. I usually leave it to the end. Maybe I'll start doing this a little bit more.
Go for it.
If you like this video, don't hesitate to give us a like on YouTube or any of the social media platforms that we're live streaming on. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you're thinking that it's worthy. We appreciate it. This is a story of a puff piece sort of late night TV show called While You're Asleep. And they're going to cover what in Spain, I think in Barcelona or Madrid, in one of the major Spanish cities, what fire departments do on overnight shifts. I mean, it's like the most mundane topic of all time. You've got this very attractive sort of newspaper reporter, and her name in real life is Manuela Velasco. She is a reality TV presenter in Spain. They've hired her to sort of play herself. She's got kind of Shakira look. She's coming into the firehouse. She's meeting the firemen. She's very playful. She's almost a little on the flirty side with things. And she's gonna stay a night with them and see, if they go out on the call. You see in the photo that she's making contact with two of the firemen that she's going to be going out with, Manu and Alex.
I like Manu.
I like both of them, and you're just sort of waiting to see when it kicks off, and then she's shooting some hoops with them, and she's having some dinner, and she's moving around and filming with this guy Paco, who's the cameraman, And
Was
then
that his
all of a
name?
Paco, yeah.
Paco, yeah.
And then all of a sudden the call comes, like you said, and it kicks off. So you got about 15 minutes of building, and she's a very nice person. She's not evil or bitchy or anything like that.
Mhm.
She's just this really cool, mellow girl who's going to hang out with these firemen. And all of a sudden they get this call of this woman who sort of barricaded herself in this apartment. And that's where it kind of kicks off because they go up to the upper floor where there's this woman named Conchita. And Conchita
Here she
is
is.
about as scary as it gets. The police are there. She's covered in blood. You never really get a good look at her, and that's another thing that I loved about this. She was very silhouetted. You weren't exactly sure what you were looking at or what was going on with this person. And then all of a sudden, she just charges at full speed and kills one of the police officers essentially by biting him in the throat.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really die, but he kind of is suddenly in need of like very extreme medical attention.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that actually, I wrote this down in the notes when that happened, when she bit him. I was thinking, oh crap, is this a zombie movie?
Yeah.
Because I'm not into zombie. I never understood the whole zombie subculture and why people like zombies so much. I never got into that. And I was just like, oh man. And that was almost going to be a turnoff for me. But then it was like, okay, they're not really zombies. They're just these whacked out, like they're basically possessed.
This is a possession movie. Yeah, it's a possession movie.
When it's revealed that's what it is, then it's like, oh, okay, I see.
There's quite a bit of. I think this movie like really ratchets up the tension.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely does. And I like that it's like you were saying, all we get is that camera. Is the cameraman's camera. So things are silhouetted. You can't really tell who's who. Like in that same scene, when that other girl runs by and then drops dead, that random girl, like who is that? But you never see. It was like a Colombian girl or something that they mention, but it's never, and you got the small group of neighbors, all the people who are kind of stuck in this house that's quarantined because of the.
Yeah,
because
it's very. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's got this very claustrophobic kind of feel.
Yeah.
Because everybody's trapped in the building. Mm-hmm. Because what happens once the biting starts, once the attacks start, people are trying to get out, and then you find out that the government, and this is what I thought was a real twist on it, the government has locked down the building.
Yeah.
They've got SWAT teams, military, special forces, helicopters. They won't let them out.
Yeah.
And I can see why the American version is called Quarantine.
Yeah.
Because these people have been placed in a military-style quarantine where people are attacking each other. People are dying, and the government or the people that are controlling the situation from the outside just don't seem to give a fuck. They're not letting these people out of the building, any of them.
No.
And that sort of ratchets up the tension because one, you don't know what's happening. Two, the people that are in the building really aren't getting along.
Yeah, they're not. No.
They don't really get along. This is, so everybody's frustrated with everybody. Everybody's lashing out at everybody, which is kind of what you would think might be a realistic expectation for what's happening here. And then all of a sudden, from the top of the building, this unexpected thing happens, and the firefighter, Alex, just drops and hits the floor, full force.
Did Conchita throw him off the balcony or something?
It's unclear, but we're assuming that's probably the case.
Or was it?
Go ahead.
No, never mind. I was going to say, was it that thing at the end, but they didn't find that till the end.
Yeah, well, the director didn't tell the actors that was going to happen. So
That's
the
funny.
reaction you see when all those people are
Yeah.
startled
Wow.
is a genuine reaction. They had no idea that that one fireman was just suddenly going to land from like 3 stories up
Yeah.
through the stairwell.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it definitely had, but you know what else I liked about it is there were very brief moments of levity, very brief. Like the one guy with the mustache who's going on about like the Chinese people and the
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
that was funny when she's like interviewing all of them and
yeah.
just how they're all just grouchy and just they don't like
And
each other and it's just,
they're,
yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah,
grouchy. They're a little bigoted
yeah, they are,
about the Chinese neighbor.
yeah,
They're very sort of Eurocentric. They're complaining, oh, it's the Chinese. That's why this is happening. They
yeah,
eat
yeah,
raw food.
yeah.
All these things that make absolutely no sense
Mm-mm. But yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah, and again, it's one of those movies where you're figuring like, okay, who's going to go first and that kind of stuff, as far as, and again, you're like, there's it's one of those movies where you're like, okay, well, how are these people getting out of this situation? They're not, because the building's locked down. So they're all just going to eventually die or become these infected, demon possessed, whatever they are,
Yeah.
Which yeah, I mean, and I was wondering too, now and you saw the second movie,
Yeah. I
does it
watched it
have
the next day.
yeah, does it have anything to do with like the father of the little girl who is bringing the medic, because wasn't he outside?
The father is actually a character in the second movie.
Okay, I was wondering that.
He's
Okay.
trying to get in to get his daughter
Yeah,
Jennifer the medication.
yeah. Okay.
And so he's a character in the second movie.
Okay.
All of the characters are recurring.
Oh, really? Okay.
All of the characters from the first movie are in the second movie in one form or another, either as
Okay.
possessed or otherwise. So what happens
Yeah.
in the
That's
second movie
neat.
is
Yeah.
what happens in the second movie is that right at the time that the first movie has taken place, there's another sort of special. It's almost like an aliens kind of thing where they send in the military. There's like
Yeah.
a small military team that they send in with this man who they say again is from the health ministry. And if you remember in the first movie, they send in that guy in the ET suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
To start checking people out that are injured. But this man is supposedly also from the Ministry of Health, and it turns out he's from the Vatican.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, they're there to deal more squarely with the possession issue because in the first movie they're sort of acknowledging the fact that there's this outbreak here, but in the second movie simultaneously they've actually sent people in.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. I like that it's kind of like a companion piece, almost like a different perspective of the same movie, of the which is neat. But that it was again, nobody was safe, and
No.
I have to say that ending was freaky with the night vision.
Well,
And
what ends up go ahead.
Yeah, no, the night vision, and then just that thing that came out was just like, what in the hell? It was creepy as that part actually was pretty. I found that to be probably the creepiest part of the whole movie, where you're like, what is this?
Well, what ends up happening for a long period of time after the death of after the two people are initially injured, the police officer and the fire, Alex, and the one police officer who gets a stork bitten out.
Yeah.
There's no violence there for quite a while.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
like a nice interim where you just start to meet these people and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And the most important thing seems to be trying to get out of the building.
Yeah.
And then sort of you get to meet Jennifer, the little girl, and she's talking about how her dog is sick and, she's sick and her father's, out at the pharmacy trying to get medicine, and so she needs her medicine, and you start to meet the neighbors. And then, you see that they're, a little bit bigoted, and they're saying that one guy's saying, well, the one Jennifer's mother is saying, the Chinese people, they always leave their door open, which was actually something that the director, what's his name, Paco Plaza, said he lived in this apartment building in Spain, and he had Chinese neighbors, and for some reason they always left their front door wide open. So he was just always fascinated by that, like why anybody would leave their front door wide open in a public apartment thing. Yeah, it's just some people have an open door policy, and they're not necessarily afraid. But
they do that in Canada. They have like certain parts you can just walk right in somebody's house. They don't lock their doors. It's just like you could, like, total stranger. I think it was, what was that movie? Bowling for Columbine. We saw Michael Moore.
Oh yeah,
he was in Canada.
Oh yeah, that's right. Didn't he walk in a couple people's houses?
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, come on in." Yeah, just like total strangers. Yeah.
Don't try that around here, for God's sake. And wherever you are, don't do that. Do not just go up and try somebody's door handle to see if they're home. Holy shit!
Yeah,
it'll be like an episode of The Punisher. Holy shit!
Yeah. Get out of my house.
So I mean, there's this long segment of the movie where really there's no action. There's frustration and people trying to get out and trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the government agent, the health minister, comes in to examine the bodies, and then all holy hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say it's the last 20 or 25 minutes of the movie are just this nonstop action scene where people are just running. It's Angela and Paco and Manu the fireman.
Yeah, it's a lot of running around. It's a lot of running around and yelling. There's just chaos. It's just
and because you're only seeing it through the lens of this one guy who's holding this camera. It's very narrow. You're only seeing what's directly in front of this one person. You can't see what's going on behind. It's happening very quickly. It's a lot of sensory overload as you try to figure out what's going on. As these people are getting attacked, the sound goes out in several important scenes, and you're just, then the camera gets dropped, and so you may only see what's going on from the knees down. People are trying to fight for their lives, and you're just like, I'm just glued to the screen. And it never really slows down after that.
No,
eventually, almost everybody gets infected.
Poor Manu.
Even Manu gets it. And he was slugging it out for a while. He had
he was doing Steven Seagal on some of them. He was breaking necks, but
he had a sledgehammer.
He sledged that one girl in the face.
Yeah, he had quite a run, but and again, I mean, this is what you're seeing. I mean, this is the amount of clarity. So it's very blurred and distorted, and these people are popping in and out of the camera shot really quickly. It really is something.
You know what I thought was interesting though about that movie is that they, when they chased Angela and her cameraman into the penthouse, they left. They didn't pursue them any further. It's not like zombies trying to bust through the door, and stuff like that. They left, which I thought was interesting. Like they were like, oh, they said something about that, like they left.
Well, what ends up happening is that they ended up running into the source.
Yeah.
They ran to the one place they thought was safe, and it was the worst place.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
And the lights go out, and they lose the main light for the camera because all they're operating on. They go into this penthouse that's supposed to have been abandoned, and it's completely dark. And they have one camera light, like a main light, and then that goes out, and it descends, and just gets more tense and more tense. And so then they start operating off of the night vision. And these people are just crawling, and they're trying to stay silent. And then they realize that something's in the penthouse with them, which is just, one of the freakier monsters.
Oh, gosh, that thing. Yeah.
you'll ever see. If I'm not mistaken, this is also the actor who played the faun in Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth.
No, it's not Doug Jones. Doug Jones. Doug Jones is in
he
the.
did something. He did something for that movie. He did something for Pan's Labyrinth.
He was the eye guy.
Oh, was he the okay?
But no. Doug Jones is in the Quarantine in the American version.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's like an infected man or something like that. They call it's something silly. No, that I believe that is a man playing that character.
Yeah,
I looked it up
in a suit.
Yeah, but it's not Doug Jones.
I mean, a minimal amount of practical effects, but very, very minimal.
But when that thing came out, I was like, "What the?" But that's the girl, right? Yeah. That was trapped up there.
Yeah. Apparently, the church had just decided to close her up in there until she died, but she never died.
Yeah. They starved her because she was possessed, right?
Yeah, and they couldn't cure her, so they just. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't just put a bullet in her head.
Yeah, the guy who owned the penthouse, didn't he was he like doing experiments on her or something? It was something with the virus. There was a virus or vaccine or something like that.
In the movie, what happens is that the possession is transmitted via saliva.
Mm-hmm.
So bite or saliva. Blood. They were taking blood samples. The second movie is very much about obtaining blood samples.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of why they send this other team in there.
Do they delve more? Do they delve more into that guy who lived in the penthouse and stuff, or do you get some?
Yeah, they go. No, they go right into the first 10 minutes of the movie. They go right into the penthouse.
Oh wow! Okay.
The military goes right into that pen. They go right to the source in the beginning.
Okay.
Those guys are just armed to the teeth. Like they're not messing around.
Yeah.
But that gets dealt with right away. The story starts to expand, and you find out more about the possession and what's going on, and that they're trying to contain it in here because you can't let that out into the world.
Yeah.
So again, in a way, even the military sort of becomes trapped. Inside the building with this priest, and they can't leave until they fulfill this one requirement. And the priest has one of those voice recognition codes, so they can't trick their way out of it until the priest gives the say so. It's another movie under 90.
Check it out.
Yeah. I'm happy to loan it to you. You can pop over sometime and we can watch it. It's under 90 minutes. And it's
this one was
worthwhile. Too. Yeah.
That's what I liked about this one was the pacing too. It was fast. There were no slow spots. It moved. And
that's what generally happens in found footage. They're very brief. They don't last very long. The budgets on them are very small. So you're working with actual filmmaking. You're not working with big splashy special effects. You're not working with CGI. You're not working with A-list stars. Target. And that's what I've really come to appreciate about it.
And that it's funny because I remember when I told you in that last shot where she gets pulled back into the thing, and then I'm like, wait. I know I saw that before, and it was in the stupid trailer for Quarantine. They ruined the movie right then, and it's like, wait.
It's no disrespect to Jennifer Carpenter because I think she's a great actress. Oh, she's a really good actress. I really like the exorcism of Emily Rose. I really
is she in that? Okay.
She's Emily Rose.
Oh, okay.
She's Emily Rose. And her ability her physicality is really impressive. And she was great in Dexter. The Showtime series. She's Dexter's sister. And I think she's really great. But like Eric said, you have to see the original movies.
Yeah, and that I was thinking about this, and maybe I don't know if you agree or not, but it always seems like they always do like an American ripoff of a foreign movie, and it just is never as good. Like it's just like lazy. Hey, it worked over there. Let's rip off this movie and just call it a different name, use the same script and all that other stuff, and we'll throw some big stars into it because it's kind of like they figure, well, the general public won't even exist. This original one, they're not going to watch. They're not going to read subtitles and all this, and it just turns out to be crap.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few times where a remake of a foreign film works, and it's
example.
Okay, I'll give you an example. One of my favorite Westerns, The Magnificent Seven, as we know,
Seven Samurai. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, is based on the Seven Samurai. But you know what? The people who made The Magnificent Seven were all fans of Kurosawa's movie.
Right.
They were all huge fans of Seven Samurai, and it was like a love letter to the Seven Samurai. From what I understand, Kurosawa didn't like the movie that much, but he appreciated the gesture. Right. I think that's a different kind of thing. I mean, I think it seems like the people behind Quarantine were just trying to make a fast buck off something that was already made, because that's how they do it in Hollywood nowadays. There's no originality.
There's not much.
Yeah. So
you've got to go to these companies like A24 now.
Yeah.
That are pumping it out.
Yeah. So it's like, we'll just take a foreign movie because nobody in America will know it exists, and we'll just make a quick buck off it by renaming it. I mean, if Quarantine is essentially the exact same movie as this one, who's going to care? I mean, that's their mentality.
Yeah. The real horror fans are going to know, but by and large, the average person who's just going to catch a Saturday matinee.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
by the time it gets to Cinemax.
Yeah. My teenagers that I teach, they're not going to sit through this. I mean, they might if I showed it to them, if I made them watch it.
Yeah, that would happen. Yeah, you'd have to sit them down and say, we're going to watch this movie.
Like when I showed them Psycho, that's a movie I never imagined they would have watched in a million years, but they loved it.
They would have avoided it like the plague, probably.
Yeah, they absolutely loved it. So, I mean, I'm sure they're familiar with these kind of movies because they watch all these movies about possessions and paranormal activity and all that stuff. So they probably have seen Quarantine.
My kids that I'm talking to, and they know I do a podcast, but I mean, they're like 8th graders. They're asking me if I'm going to be covering like the new Halloween. I'm like, not if I can avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, come on. I mean, and a movie. Now I saw that with this movie, there's like 3 or 4 of them, which again,
4. I think there's 4.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it right, that's fine. But don't turn it into Halloween. Don't turn it into.
I think if I remember correctly, by the time we got to the 3rd movie, it had fallen off, which is why I only own the first 2.
See, that's what always happens is that you just want to get greedy and make more money off this crap, and each movie just gets progressively worse. It's a shame. I mean. And I've just lost track of all those Halloween movies. There's 100 of them. It gets to the point now, like, you know what? My students don't care about Michael Myers. They don't know who he is. They don't care about those Halloween movies. I mean, who is their target audience? I guess they still have the hardcore Halloween fans. I don't know.
I think that, and I was talking about this when we covered The Changeling. And I was saying that The Changeling got outshined because it came out the same year as the original Friday the 13th. So it just got drowned out. And a far superior movie it is, but, people checker sells more than chess.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, I think that these movies continue to sell, so to speak. I can't think of the word that I used at the time. I said, because people are constantly looking to recapture the feeling of a former time.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
you want to recapture that imagination. That doesn't mean that doesn't make the movie good.
No,
I'm saying people keep putting their asses in the seats because they want to recapture that feeling when they were younger. They had that sense of wonder. Your brain wasn't fully developed. So suspension of disbelief was easier to achieve, and I think that's why people keep coming back. I think I said I think I saw somebody say this about Terminator 2, that the natural conclusion to that story ended at the end of the 2nd movie.
Yes, it did.
The natural conclusion for that movie ended right there when Arnold went down into the melting pot
with the thumbs up. There
Right.
was no need for a third movie.
No,
Absolutely not.
but you can
No.
still do it, and I enjoyed the third movie to
I
a large
liked it,
extent
but
with Nick. I like Nick Stahl and I like Claire
yeah,
Danes. It's good to see Arnold again.
yeah,
But I mean, the natural conclusion ended with the second movie, but we still
yeah,
have what, 4, maybe 5 after that,
yeah.
and people keep going. Hold on a second. Eric is here, and he's saying, I watched Quarantine on a streaming service and had no idea it was an American remake until years later.
Mhm. Most
He says,
people probably don't.
but I've always said that remakes can lead people to the original. So that's
Okay,
some good may come of it.
that's fair. Yeah.
He says, I think Rec 3 is a prequel. I don't remember. I only remember that the fourth one, like, it breaks out. It becomes, it's so by that time it's like a parody of itself, and it like invades a
Yeah.
wedding or something like that. If it's
Oh,
a prequel, I may take a look at it, because you can find these very inexpensively on Amazon for pennies. You can find them for pennies on Amazon, cheap copies. There is an alternate ending where Angela Paco gets killed, but Angela tries to make it down the stairs using the night vision because all the lights in the building go out. And then she just, but it wasn't edited into the film. Maybe if you buy it on Blu-ray, they have it, but I only have
like a deleted
DVD.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, or alternate ending, and she gets devoured.
Oh, really?
She gets devoured. So, but then if she's devoured, then there's, well, I mean, she does come back in the second movie. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay.
She's there in the second movie.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I won't say.
So
that
if they had
ruins
made
the
that other
possibility.
ending, if they had made that alternate ending, then they wouldn't have been. Honestly, the way it ended, I really don't see a need for a second movie, and unless, again, like you said, it's more of a companion piece. So that, like,
it is. It's an absolute companion piece.
I like the idea of the different perspective. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
because as the military's going in, the dad is outside arguing to get in the building because his daughter is sick and he needs to get her medication.
Yeah.
And so it's happening simultaneously, or to some extent, almost one on top of the other.
Yeah. That's
so,
cool, but
it's a definite companion piece, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's a neat concept. I like that. Like, and they tried with sequels and unnecessary sequels. They made a Blair Witch 2 that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, Blair Witch in itself, it held up. There was no need for it. And I didn't even bother seeing that second one because at the time I was over Blair Witch. I was like, okay, it had its day. And the sequel came out way later, and there just seemed like no point to it. But again, money is the deciding factor.
And some people are going to go see it. I think I've figured out, certainly at this point, now 9 months into this, that not everybody's as fussy as we are.
Yeah.
So we're kind of the niche of the niche here. Not everybody's as picky as we are. Like,
but you know what? Some people don't care. I mean,
hold on. According to Wiki, Rec 3 and Rec 3 Genesis takes place before, during, and after. Maybe I'll have to buy them. Maybe I'll see if I can find them real quick.
Interesting.
Okay. Maybe I'm not remembering it correctly. So I'm glad that Eric's here to fill in here and fill in. Eric, I should just give you the fucking link and you can come in the stream, but you'll be in less than an hour anyway. So.
Yeah, really.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I love this movie. I think that everyone should see it. It's not available. I mean, it's available on Amazon, but it's not. You have to pay for it. It's not. It's not.
No, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad I watched it. I had my reservations going into it because it's found footage, and I was like, okay, this is going to be like Blair Witch. But it surprised me. It was done very well.
The second movie made the first movie better.
Okay.
The second movie made the first movie better, and they complemented each other extremely well.
Yeah. And that's cool. And I liked it. It was, the execution of the movie was done very well. It's everything we talked about. I enjoyed it. It was cool. It was freaky. It had its freaky moments. And excuse me, it takes a lot to scare me with horror movies.
Right.
But that ending did it for me. I was like, I mean, I could only imagine if I showed that to my students,
Oh, you couldn't show this to kids.
that last scene
Yeah,
with that thing that comes out,
yeah.
they would be screaming and running to
Yeah,
the back of the
no,
class.
this is not. I mean, we in an hour and at 10 o'clock we're going to go on with scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah.
That is a scary movie and probably a movie you could start kids off, but it's
Yeah.
not. I mean, there are actually some really scary things going on in that movie.
Okay.
This movie, forget it. Yeah, you couldn't. And maybe in the privacy of your own home with your own
Yeah.
kids, if you decide,
Yeah.
that they got the stomach to handle it. But you could easily see this would give kids nightmares.
Oh yeah.
This is not for the faint-hearted. This is a bloody, gory, scary, in-your-face kind of movie.
You know what though? It's interesting about the whole bloody, gory part is that it wasn't. It was there. But it wasn't like, I guess because of the camera angles and things were shaky and stuff, they didn't dwell on it. We didn't see a lot, like we saw parts like when the first cop got bit and all that stuff. And, and then when Alex and the guy and him were attacking them when they were on the table. But really, there wasn't tons and tons of blood. It wasn't super, super gory. I mean, there were some bloody parts, obviously, and they looked gross when they were all in.
Yeah, I mean, when she's biting the guy's throat out.
Well, yeah, that was like
that kind of thing.
Yeah. But I can only imagine. The funny thing about these kind of movies, and I think I showed you pictures from one of those Conjuring movies too, is they must have had such a blast off camera. Like the Conjuring pictures that I showed you, where they're just all laughing, they're hanging out with like the nun, and she's smiling, and they're all just having such a off camera. They must have just been having such a blast, like laughing it up and that kind of stuff. And that kind of it's cool to think that too. I mean, but it's like when that lady came running at him screaming, I kind of laughed. At first I was just like, because she's like, and then he pops her and she's done. But
she makes a reappearance in the second movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's tough to keep down.
No, yeah, that was my next question, and one of my observations is that I thought in this movie it seemed like when you killed those things, they stayed dead. But then like when she got up, they shot her, but then she was up again. And it's like, okay, so do they actually die at some point, or are they just like zombies where they're essentially undead? I don't know.
Yeah, it's an unresolved kind of question. I mean, there aren't that many final deaths that occur in this series.
Yeah,
that's what's so difficult about it. It's difficult to stay down, keep them down.
Yeah.
You put them down temporarily, but they seem to keep,
Because like Manu was breaking necks and stuff, and like smashing people with hammers, but I didn't see that one scene on the stairs, it's hard to see who all is there and who's running around. So you don't know which of them are still running around and which of them are down and that kind of stuff, because it was hard for me to tell who was who in some of the scenes just because of the camera work was so frantic, So some of the
that adds to the frenzy.
Yeah. Some of the infected people, it was hard to see like who's who. Like, like the one girl that Manu like smashed her. I'm like, wait, was that supposed to be the Colombian girl? Because I'm like, it was just some random
the Asian lady.
No, that was the second one, but the first girl I think was supposed to be the Colombian girl who died from Conchita biting her or something. It was hard to, and I never saw the guy's dad. I thought he would be running around. The one guy's dad who was in bed.
Yeah, but he was paralyzed.
Again, it's hard to. It was a little hard to see, who is who. I think because you're just
not everything is made clear.
Yeah.
Not everything is made clear.
Yeah. So,
but it's still a hell of a flick.
Yeah.
I would advise if you have an opportunity to see Wreck, 2007 Spanish horror film, found footage, please do. It's better than a lot of the shit that gets released in the mainstream networks.
Case in point,
so on and
we
so
got
forth.
another Halloween coming out.
Coming out this weekend.
Yeah. Which, did you see? There's a petition. Because there's a scene in that where he's like killing a bunch of firemen, and there was a big petition to have that scene removed.
Oh no, I haven't seen anything about this.
Yeah, so there's a petition going around from that change.org or something.
Oh, really?
Where they're trying to have that scene removed because, it's first responders responding to a fire, and Michael Myers is like killing them. So, but at the same time, you could argue, well, he gets to kill everybody else in the movie.
Pretty much.
So,
he kills police officers. He kills.
Yeah.
Everybody.
He should just kill himself and be done with it. But
and that would be nice. I would say that would put me out of my misery for that, at least on that one thing.
Yeah, really.
All right. Well, I think this is as good a place as any to kind of close it down. Catch the movie. If you like this video, please, don't hesitate to throw us a like. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We will be back in just over an hour with Eric, Rod, and John for scary stories to tell in the dark. So there's still more work to do, more Halloween Hellfire coming your way. Thanks so much to Brom Bones for once again gracing us with his presence. Appreciate it as always.
It's always fun being on here.
Yeah. Always enjoy having you. And between now and then, don't waste your time with bullshit. We'll see you in about an hour.